So Melanie, if we could start with you. I shared some of the information about wealth inequality, and you have developed a very unique program at Torani that benefits all of your workers. Could you tell us a little bit about that, about the company and the program, and also what motivated you to start it?
Sure. This is sobering information we're looking at. I don't think it comes as a huge surprise. This data has been coming at us for so many years. And this is a place to talk about it and do something about it. So before diving in, how many of you know Torani from either maybe seeing our bottles lined up in cafes, or maybe you have a bottle at home on your kitchen counter? Fantastic, thank you. What you may not know as much about us is that we're a B corporation. Thank you. And that we are a people-first opportunity company. We believe that businesses can and should provide more opportunities for people of all walks of life to make it and to thrive. And we have a particular passion for frontline team members and what that means for people who make an hourly rate. So we think about it across our whole company. We think about it at the front line throughout our whole company, and building a circle of success that embraces our customers, our partners, and others. And we know that if we invest the bottom line at the front line, we continue our growth. So we think about it as a whole system, and we can talk more about other aspects of the system, but one of the things that Diana is referring to is that we look at not just income and what people need for their income, we can talk about that later, but we think about wealth. When we work together for a long time, we create wealth together. So if we're looking at the stakeholder model, we have to think about how that gets shared, right? So we think about how we share wealth internally with our team members. We do that in two key ways. One is, last year when we had an opportunity to buy 10% of the company, we did that and turned it into an ESOP. So we now have a Torani team member stock ownership plan, so that everybody in the company now earns about 5% of their pay into the ESOP each year. And it's really meaningful when it's combined with financial literacy. The other thing that we do that is much more accessible and it's much easier to do is, for about 30 years now, we've had a profit sharing plan. And that's another one where we take about 5% of somebody's pay and put it into the profit sharing each plan. So it's an investment of 10% that is creating wealth and sharing the wealth with our team members. That's one element of a whole system of income and wealth sharing that we've created at Torani.
Thanks, Melanie.
And I'm happy to talk more about ESOPs and other things offline.
So Sarah, you also put together an equity-like structure for all of your employees, not just management. Then they were able to benefit from that when your new private equity partner came in. And then you were able to convince this new private equity partner to basically start the program over again, to share that equity and the upside. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What motivated you and how you got the private equity partner to agree?
Sure. Thanks, Diana. So Cypress Creek Renewables is a solar and storage developer, owner, operator. As Diana said, we have about 400 employees. When I came into the company, it was actually struggling. About 3.5 years ago, the investors were sort of dealing with a post-startup era of a company, and I came in to really kind of set it on a new course. And part of setting this company on a new course was we have a very strong development team an operating team, but they were really not aligned. The developers were developing projects, the operating team were operating the projects in the field. The operating team is the team that has a number of hourly workers. Of the 400 people we have in the company, we have about 100 hourly workers. One issue that we had, it was a very aspirational team, but there was no mission, there was no vision, there was no articulated mission. So we came in and we articulated a mission, and we put in place, as a part of this mission, as a part of aligning the whole team, we put in place an equity-like plan where every single person that works at Cypress Creek shares in the value creation between the time I came in as CEO and the time that we were going to have a liquidity event, which was the sale of the company to another private equity firm, which occurred a year ago. And as a part of that plan, with every single person participating, the benefit came at more than twice what was expected because of the work that everybody put in and the value that was created in the transfer of the company to this new private equity firm. And people were paid out as much as 30 and even up to 100% of their annual salary in that one event. So as Diana was referring to, we then had this new private equity firm that we wanted to continue this program because, as Melanie said, wealth creation, there's everybody's getting current income, and isn't that great? And there's salary, we have salaries and bonuses, annual bonuses. But the real wealth creation is something that a lot of people don't have real access to. And it's key, we think, for our people to have access to the wealth creation just like our investors do. So the alignment with the investors is really key, and the alignment across the company so that there are developers and operators working towards the same goal of total company value creation. And so those really were the incentives for why we put that together.
Thanks. Really inspiring stories from both of you. So Sarah, I'm going to put up a chart here, or rather a systems diagram, and maybe sort of a little bit trying to capture that there's many things that companies can do to address financial insecurity, income inequality, wealth gaps. And was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you've been doing at the company to address that.
Yeah, sure. So another aspect that we think is really important for wealth generation over the life of people in the workforce is, of course, savings. So we have a 10% matching program for our 401k. I've been in the workforce for 35 years. I don't know a single company. I would love it if anyone here in the room knows a company that has a matching of 10%, but that is what we do. And it is extremely well received. In general, the renewables business in general is a really young industry, and our company is no exception to that. So I'm very happy to really be leading our team to understanding, especially young people, understanding that putting capital away for the future makes a lot of sense, and we're making that really we're leveraging that for them by doing this 10% matching, and the team really appreciates that. And of course, with that compounding effect, it's going to be worth a lot in the future for these young people. So that's one thing we do. Another thing that we've really focused on is not overpaying our executives, including myself, and really kind of trying to keep a ratio there that is sustainable over the long haul. And what we think, we really don't want to be contributing to those charts that Diana was showing. And so our ratio, I think my pay is about 20 times the average of the hourly workers in our business. So I think that qualifies maybe for a B Corp. I'm not sure, but we're not a B Corp. But we are very attentive to making sure that we don't overpay people. But of course, we do pay people.
Yeah, and just so, I mean, for those of you who might still remember who Peter Drucker was, he felt, no, I do, he believed that ratio should be about 20 to 1. He felt it went from 25 to 1 in his mind to 20 to 1. If you look at some of the large corporations today, it's gone in 1989 from 61 to 1 to 351 to 1 today. So, Melanie, what about you? I know you're doing a lot beyond the ESOP and the equity share. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to this whole issue of living wage, which I know a lot of us wrestle with?
Right. So this system that you see up here is one that we're operating in at Torani. We're working on all of these elements of looking at equity in income, in wealth creation, and in contribution, right? So let's take the one at the top, the living wages and robust benefits. This is one that we really struggle with. And in the San Francisco Bay Area, where we're headquartered and located, there were a number of places that were unionizing for living wage. And it's something that we really need to pay attention to. So the way that we've adopted it and are looking at it is there's minimum wage, there's market rates. Most of us do our research and we know what market rates are for the different positions in our companies. We also benchmark living wage. We think it's really important to think about how to get more to the front line. And the way that we approach it is by looking at how do we bring somebody on board who maybe comes in with fewer skills and upskill their skills, their capabilities, so they quickly can earn and then get beyond living wage, so that we attach it to a skill blocks program that can be self-paced and that people can go as quickly as possible, and then attach it to career mixology so that they can move and explore and grow into other ways. So we think of that as being part of our whole opportunity company way of working. So we connect living wage in that way. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's an important thing to strive for.
Thank you.
And the pay also is an important thing. We've developed a compensation philosophy that we recently had approved by our board. 2 members are here in the room who went through that with us. And we look at paying above market rate for frontline team members. And moderating, paying at market rate for other roles, but really looking at equity sharing for all.
So I want to ask both of you, and Melanie, you can answer first this one, throw you the tough one first here. You know, when obviously these are deep, systemic issues, these are very difficult issues, and the questions that companies get all the time who are trying to do this is, well, why do this? This is going to be very expensive. It's going to eat into profits. It's, really the costs far outweigh the benefits. What are the benefits? So how do you guys think about that? How do you think about managing the costs and the benefits, and what types of costs and what types of benefits have you seen from some of the actions you've taken?
Yeah. I really believe that if something's worth doing, it's worth getting started. And you just wade in and you get going on it. When we look at the cost, that's pretty easy to calculate. Like just taking that 10% of a person's pay, you can calculate that for your company. That's not a hard thing to do. And then you add in some administrative costs, other things that we offer, so it adds up. But when we look at retention, we can do some pretty quick calculations with our CFO, Scott. We had, during the Great Resignation, single-digit turnover versus other manufacturing companies that had upwards of 20% turnover, sometimes 40% in our area in particular. So we know that 10 percentage points absolutely crushes the rest of that, right? That more than pays for it. So we outperform in retention, and there are so many hidden costs in that. We all know what it takes to get people up to speed. And the added benefit is one that we were just talking about, which is resiliency. So when we look at how to deal with a great recession, how to deal with a pandemic, how to deal with sudden rapid growth beyond your expectations, how to deal with supply chain loop-de-loops. When you have people who've been there, who are devoted, and who give more because they know what difference it makes, and there's financial literacy and education happening, we pull through that really strongly. So I'd say that the benefits far outweigh the costs, and it's not that hard to calculate.
Thank you. Sarah, what comes to mind when you think about the costs and the benefits of doing this?
Well, it's interesting because for us, when we put the first program in place, we actually had a fixed amount from our investors about how much they were willing to share in the wealth creation. So I went to my executive team, which was about 8 of us, and I said to them, I have this idea. I'd really like to share this equity with the entire company. So I had a one-on-one with each of them. I didn't, no peer pressure. And unanimously, each and every one of my executives said that would be so powerful. If we could say to the whole company that we're all going to share in the value creation from here on out. And at that point, it was very uncertain if we were going to really create value. We were struggling, as I said at the beginning. We weren't sure we were going to be able to turn the company around. We weren't sure we were going to be able to find the value. But we knew that with the strength of the whole team behind it, it was just that much more probable that we would get the benefits. So, in fact, our whole executive team are the people that paid for it. But we would never have gotten the whole value. In fact, I believe the pie was much bigger as a result of sharing the wealth, and that in fact, everybody got more in the end. So we were lucky maybe, but we also, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment on a number of people's parts, and we're hoping to do the same thing in this next round too.
And if I could add one thing, we're kind of looking at it like, here's how it makes sense when we talk about costs and benefits. But there's a joyfulness that comes in operating that way, right? There's a teamness, there's a togetherness. It's emerging as one team, and that is a way more joyful way to operate than slugging it out.
That's for sure.
Yes, I would agree. So I'm a little confused about the timer, if that's, but I'm assuming the 6 minutes left is not for us, but for the whole session. So I just want to thank you both for sharing, your thoughts and some of the actions. And really, the purpose of this session is to start a conversation and a dialogue, and not to just accept the world the way it is, and realize that we have some really difficult challenges. Some of the things that I shared in the beginning, these are existential questions and threats to our economic, social, and political stability. We don't have the answers. We are trying to do things. We are wrestling with the issues, and it's really about inviting all of us to put our heads together and share our perspectives and our experiences to address some of these questions that I personally at least feel conscious capitalism and conscious companies and leaders like you are showing this have a responsibility and can have a huge impact. So thank you very much to both of you guys.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.